This is Brandon. I'm here at Sleeper Cell Studio. I was kind of doing a breakdown of this mix for Riddles and Secrets. The song's called Way Too Deep. Came out about 3 months ago. It's on Spotify. There's a music video on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't. Should be on all the other streaming platforms, whatever you're into. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's a cool track. I did a breakdown of, kind of the electronic drums in it. It has electronic drums and acoustic drums. I was going to cover the acoustic drums in this video. They are programmed drums. It was just a aesthetic choice for this track. There was a demo for this where I got involved. The original demo had all programmed drums. We kind of just stuck with that. I mean, we do have a live room here. We cut drums in here at Sleeper Cell Studio. Sounds great. A lot of times I prefer that. For this song, we just went to programmed drums. And part of the beauty of programmed drums, which you'll see, is they already sound good, so they don't need a ton of processing. People tend to do that. They'll see somebody mixing a snare. Somebody recorded live in a room. And you tend to have to use more processing on a raw drum recording, than when you're working with programmed drums. They've already been mixed, they already sound good. I mean, sure, you're going to make some tweaks here and there to fit what you got going or whatever, but they're definitely much closer to the finish line than like raw drum recording. That said, a lot of times I do prefer, a live drum recording. I think it just has a different feel to it. Even if you humanize them and all that, but that's another topic. So I'm going to show what I got going on here with this. I'll play a bit of the song. For those who haven't heard it, Riddles and Secrets, Way Too Deep.
You see way too deep. It seems I'm going way too fast. It seems I just may have run the last line. It seems I've fallen. What will happen this time? You see way too deep. You see far too many things.
It's kind of the gist of it, intro, verse 1, chorus 1. And so on these acoustic drums, they're layered with the programmed drums that are in the verse. If you haven't checked out the previous video, check that out for the processing on those, the programmed drums. And these are layered, so when the acoustic drums come in, they're coming in on top of the electronic drums. Just so you know, it's kind of a different thing than when like the electronic drums go away and then the acoustic drums take over. These are actually layered, so it actually makes it a bit more complex during the mixing process, because you're not only trying to get the acoustic and the electronic drums to sound good on their own, but you're also trying to make sure that they sound good when they're on top of each other. So it's definitely a bit more tricky. But I don't have anything going on the individual tracks, because they already sound 90% of the way there. They're already mixed, really, unlike raw drums, like I was saying. But on the drum bus, I got a high pass at 30, 3-to-1 ratio, fast release, slow attack. Let me find it here.
You see way too deep.
Like 3 dB of compression, 3 to 5 dB of compression. Boosting 2 dB at 4.5K, so that's just giving it a little more attack. Turn that off and on. off, in. It just gives it more attack. They sound a little more aggressive, a little brighter, a little more up front. Same with the compression, just adding some attack, slow attack, fast release, adding a little more attack to it. It's making it hit harder. And gluing them together. I mean, generally that's kind of what I'm looking for, and like drum bus compression on the group. I'm really looking for glue, mostly. Then after that, I got a clipper. It's not really even doing much. Getting like a dB, probably hitting it in the fills, really. Yeah. So it's really only working mostly when there's like a tom fill or something. It's just keeping them peaks under control. And then all of them, well, I guess not all of them, not the room and the overheads, but the rest are being sent to the parallel compression here, which this is copied from the drum bus as well as the clipper. I just copied them over because when I use the sends for the parallel compression like I like to do, it's sending it directly from the individual tracks to the parallel compression. So these sends are not hitting the drum bus processing before going to the parallel. So I'm copying the drum bus onto the parallel, so then when these come into it, it's basically starting me off where these are. And generally I like to send a little bit less, I like to send less kick to the parallel drum bus compression so it doesn't blow up the compressor, instead of just making a duplicate of the drum bus. Some people do that, that's cool. Sometimes it works, but with stuff with a lot of low end, I find it kind of just blows up the parallel drum compression. Doesn't work too well for me a lot of times. So a lot of times I'll send less of the kick and also less of the toms and barely any hats, ride, room overheads. And here I didn't send any of the room and overheads, but usually I'll send at least a little bit. It's like as soon as I can hear them, that's it. I don't really want to hear a whole lot of that, the rooms and overheads in the parallel drums. I mostly want kick and snare, but I do like to send them usually. I don't know why I turned it off here. Might have been making the drums like harsh or too bitey or something, because they can do that. But I usually like to send at least a little bit in there, even if I can't hardly hear it, just because I feel like it makes it a little more glued together, so you don't have certain elements that aren't being like touched and other ones that are being slammed by compression, and then you're blending it in, and I just feel like it glues it together better. So on the parallel compression track, let's hear that. It's actually not as much compression as I would usually use. Let's see. It's only like 8 dB, maybe 10 at the most here and there. I'm using this 33609, the Neve. That's kind of my preferred drum bus or parallel drum compression compressor. I mean, I use other ones. There's a lot of them that are great. Like I used the SSL bus compressor emulation, the Townhouse, on the parallel drum compression for the electronic drums. But I would say 9 times out of 10, I usually like to go with the Neve. That's kind of my go-to. But there's plenty that can work. I mean, the stock ones will work. You know what I mean? Any of them, almost any of them work, depending on what you're going for. But this is the one I usually reach for. Fastest release 2-to-1, and after that we got some EQ, 6 dB at 60 low shelf, 6 dB at 8K high shelf, and then I'm just high passing it at 20. It's just that low end rumble that I don't need in basically anything. I don't need that really in any tracks. And it's relatively low, mixed with the main drum bus. Without. With. Off. In. To me, it just adds a lot of size, a lot of punch, a lot of weight. You know, it's really going to help make them cut through all that distorted guitars and bass and vocals and everything without having to crank them way up in the mix so that they're just louder than everything. You know, so it's almost like, to me, it almost gives you like the effect of like turning them up without turning them up, because you got a good balance on it already. You don't necessarily want them louder, you just want them to cut through more. And then after that, I've got a parallel distortion track. So all this, I have another set of sends sending all the same stuff, looks like same settings, to the parallel distortion track. Let's hear that real quick. Oh, that's not it. It's pretty low. I'll turn it up. Actually sounds pretty garbage on its own, but it's so low in the mix. I mean, you don't even hear the distortion. You don't even realize that it's there. But I'm using a tape emulation on that, which is kind of cool. A lot of times I use the decapitator, like I did on the electronic drums. I'd say I usually use the decapitator. I mean, you can use almost anything for this, really. I mean, you could throw a guitar pedal distortion on it or whatever. I mean, you know, some of them have different tones. The tape has a slightly different tone than like a distortion pedal. You know, saturation is like this saturation. I feel like it's making it more like fatter. Where like a distortion pedal for guitar will add harmonics as well, but it's gonna be a little like brighter usually and like harsh, a little more harsh. But I just got the input cranked all the way, the output all the way down to just kind of match the gain levels. I'm at 456 for the tape type, 15 IPS, 6 on the calibration. Oh, and then I got an EQ here, it's just rolling off that super low stuff that just you don't want in the mix. You know, it just helps with clarity. It also helps, you know, in mastering to get the levels up to a competitive volume. So let's hear that here. Here's the with the drum bus. Out. In. Out. Pretty subtle. I would say it may be more subtle than the parallel compression, but in a lot of ways it's giving me similar results, I feel like, as the parallel compression, just in a different way. I mean, I feel like it's making the drum sound fatter. It's adding more, you know, it's making them more dense. It's going to make them cut through more in the mix with the harmonics. And these are both relatively subtle when you hear them like this, but I'll play them, you know, all together. Well, just the drum bus with the track, and then I'll turn on and off the parallel compression and distortion. And you'll see how much it adds. It's like the drums are in the mix and hanging and holding their own, and then when I mute it, it's like they just sound small and like off in the background, like they're not with the rest of the music. They're just somewhere back there. who knows? Let's see. So here's out.
You see way too deep.
It's like I can tell there's some drums. Mainly just hit a hi-hat. And the program drums that are in there as well.
You see way too deep.
And then on.
You see far too many things. You see way too deep.
And off.
You see far too many things.
And
You see way too deep. You see.
yeah. Something's up with my video. And so that's about it for the drum processing on this track. If you got any questions, hit me up. It's Brandon at Sleeper Cell Studio. Leave a comment, subscribe. You got any questions? You want me to make a specific video? Let me know. Later.